Okay, well, it is 7:01 and we are ready to start the live stream. If I remember how to use all the things. Okay. I will now call to order the regular City Council meeting of August 8th, 2020. Council are participating in this meeting remotely pursuant to the Council's electronic participation policy. Public access to the meeting is available on the Local Government Access Channel 8 for Comcast and Xfinity subscribers and on the city's YouTube channel online. Public access is also available by telephone by using the call-in numbers posted on the meeting agenda. All callers will be muted and may speak to council during the times allotted for public comment as indicated on the agenda. If you are on the phone waiting to speak to council and are also watching the meeting on YouTube or Channel 8, please know there are a couple of seconds of delay with the live stream. Please turn down your computer or TV volume as we approach the sections of the agenda reserved for public invited to be heard, so you can hear the council meeting on the phone and to prevent background noise when you are unmuted to speak. Joanna, will you?
Mayor Leidy.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford.
Here.
Councilmember Witkovich will be absent. Councilmember Jaramillo.
Here.
Councilmember Kondo. I see him, so I'll count him as present.
Okay.
Okay. Councilmember Luke Manhero-Massa.
Here.
Councilmember Goff.
Here.
Councilmember Brown.
Here.
Councilmember Walker.
Here.
Thank you.
Welcome back, Nick.
Thank you, Ms. Becky.
Okay, please stand as you are able and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. City Manager Guyer, are there any responses to citizen inquiry?
Nothing this evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you.
Are there any additions or deletions to tonight's agenda? Nope, I don't see. Okay. Public invited to be heard. This is an opportunity for public comment on any item not set for public hearing. Statements are limited to 5 minutes per speaker. Statements must be related to city business and limited to matters of community interest. Is there anyone on the phone who would like to speak to council? If so, you may press *6 to unmute at this time. I see a couple of phone numbers, so I wasn't sure if anyone wanted to say anything. Okay. No? All right. We will move into council communications. Councilmember Walker.
There are no communications from me tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Jaramillo.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Just had the North Glen Arts and Humanities Foundation City Hall Sculpture Committee selection. So that's will be coming soon. So there'll be another round after this, and hopefully we'll have our top 5. And that's all I have for now.
Okay. Councilmember Brown.
I attended the Probes, right?
Yeah, Prost.
Yeah, the Probes celebration that they'll be moving into the North Glen Mall. It was, or the Marketplace. I was talking to somebody about North Glen Mall this weekend. It's stuck in my head. The Marketplace, and it was a very good event. Good attendance. The food was awesome. I'm in love with their pretzels. I licked my lips all the way home trying to get more. But I did have a really good time. Other than that, I had stepped away from my city council duties, but I am back now.
Thank you. Councilmember Goff?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I was also attended the Prost VIP event, and got to see the inside of that building. It just looks gigantic. It's a huge space. It's quite the exciting new event coming up here for us. And then I also participated in the City Hall sculpture selection. So looking forward to continuing with that. The other things that happened, Ward 3 had our Groove, Grub, and Local Gov meeting on August 4th last week. And I wanted to thank everyone who came out to that. The music was great. The food was good. We had lots of good conversations. And then August 5th, I attended the Junior Rangers graduation ceremony and was able to participate in giving out certificates and binoculars and medals. And I was very impressed that a very large, amazingly large group of kids really interested in learning about how to be good stewards of our land. So that was a lot of fun. And then I would also say that I participated in a subcommittee meeting for the Diversity Board. And this group is working on a land acknowledgement. So you'll be, they'll be bringing something to City Council, I don't know, sometime soon. we get some details worked out. And that's it. Thank you.
Councilmember Kondo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I apologize. Early I had some audio difficulties, so I'm participating by phone and video link here. As Councilmember Goff talked about, we did have our Ward 3 meeting. And again, I want to give a shout out to the North Metro Fire Rescue District. They sent a ladder truck over, which was quite a surprise. I didn't request that ladder specifically, but they certainly came over and gave the kids something to look at, and it was an enjoyable event by all. Besides the Prost event and the Junior Ranger graduation ceremony, I guess if you want to call it that, I participated along with the mayor in the principals meeting at the Justice Center Thursday last week. We had the District 12 schools that are in North Glen proper. Great conversations, had the opportunity to meet a number of principals, and I'll be following up with them on potentially going in company with our SROs just to get a feel for the vibe within our school system. And then lastly, I had breakfast with Heather, part of the monthly breakfast with the city manager, and next month, Councilmember Ashley Witkovich will be joining me.
Thank you. Councilmember Lukman Haramasa.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Let's see, I missed some awesome things because I was on vacation. Really bummed I missed the Prost VIP event, but sounds like it was great. When I got back, or actually this was before, time is kind of weird after you come back from vacation. I participated in the nominating committee for the Business Appreciation Awards, and I'm so excited because we have our award choices selected. Top secret information. I will say it's tough because we have some really fantastic businesses here in North Glen, and so proud of the way our city supports all of our businesses, small to large. I attended the National Night Out, and the highlight of that, a couple of things. The demonstration by North Metro Fire Department was pretty eye-opening. They literally tore a car apart, simulating if somebody was stuck in there. So I want to thank them for coming out and doing that demonstration. Very scary and very eye-opening. And then I got to learn how to play crokinole. I think I said that right, with Chief. I never played it before. It was awesome watching him interact with all of the kids and families. And of course, I'm competitive, so I had to go in there and learn. And let's just say Chief is competitive and he's not very nice about it. So it was great. I had a lot of fun at National Night Out. Thank you to all our first responders for being there. Also attended the honorary Junior Ranger Awards at EB Rains. And to echo Councilmember Goff, just incredible to see all of the things that those kids have learned with their hand signals. And they were just so proud of themselves, and they really did a great job. So shout out to Amanda and her team and our park ranger, Karen. That was really fun. And then today I did a tour of Crossroads Community Center with Chip, and just really want to throw it out to the community that they offer a lot of resources and do a lot of good for the city of North Glen. They had to adapt after the pandemic, and seeing that they didn't have as many people attending in-person services, they had all of this empty space, and they've turned it into community resources for the public. So some of the things that are available: Thrive Colorado, they help fill out resumes and interviews, and it's a whole session. It's funded through grants. SWAP, which we're also aware of. Alternative for Youth, which they work with court-ordered community service. Young Life, there's Child Fellowships. There's a Hispanic church that uses it for their services in Spanish. There's All Stars, which is a program that helps work with people who have disabilities. 1 Million Degrees, which is helping people get connected to resources to earn a college degree. Smart Cities Group, which this was really incredible. They convert for free bicycles for people with disabilities so that they can have a motorized bicycle or an e-bike. So a really unique program. Plus some other things that they do as well. And I thought it might be a great place for our Ward 4 meeting at some point in time if Mayor Pro Tem Wilford is on board with that. But their grand opening is October 1st. I just wanted to throw that out there. They do a lot of good for the community. And that's all I have. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Wilford.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Councilmember Luquin Hiramasa. We can hold ward meetings wherever you want, my friend. So I was hoping to be able to join her this morning on the tour, but unfortunately have to find some time in my schedule to go and tour it in the future. As far as updates from me this evening, I will be brief. I also attended the Prost reception and gathering, and I'm just so excited that they're going to be coming to our city and bringing so many good paying jobs and really putting us on the map. So very excited about their opening in the summer of 2023. And then outside of that, just a quick plug for our Ward 4 meeting coming up on August 25th. We'll be down at Danahay Park and a part of the Grub and Local Gov. Challenge all of us to say that 10 times fast. That's all from me this evening, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm going to repeat a couple of things. The first one was the Prost event, and really because I just want to highlight publicly our amazing Debbie Tuttle again. We do know that it was a partnership with Adams County, and we had some state people with us, but honestly, that project would not have happened had it not been for her work and her team. So I just wanted to make sure that we took a minute because we spent a lot of time clapping and cheering for Debbie at the event, but it was a private event. So I just want to celebrate her publicly. I also was so excited to join our North Glen school principals when they met at the Justice Center. So our police department put together a great morning of information and collaboration and engagement. I got to see some old friends because, people move from district to district. And it was a very special event. And so I just want to thank the city for all those extra special touches, the gift bags, and just the sweet little things that hopefully helped our principals feel valued and honored. And, we just wanted to wish them an awesome start to the school year. This one hopefully will feel more like normal, if there is such a thing. And so I was happy to welcome them. And then I also attended the Sabor event, which is hosted by the Colorado Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. And it's their biggest fundraiser, and it's a really great night. And it's just great to meet with representatives from the Hispanic community and also the business community. So I did get to run into our old friend, Ray Gonzalez, and say hello from the city and let him know that we wish him well. And then I had breakfast this morning with our district attorney, Brian Mason, and that was just a lovely time of, sharing ideas and thinking about what's going on in Adams County when it comes to safety and some of the things that we're seeing with crime. So that's kind of the things that have been on my agenda. I do see Councilmember Brown has raised her hand. Did you want to add something?
First of all, Meredith, I hope you're not broke from a silent auction or something.
Not yet.
Held yourself back. I was wondering if Councilmember Goff could share a little bit more about what the diversity group will be bringing forward to council.
Well, we were looking at a land acknowledgement process, and that's very unique to every situation. So it's kind of hard to say exactly what it would be, but it's going to be a statement probably that would acknowledge the Native American people who lived on the land that later became North Glen. Something just simply that would be it, but it could evolve into something a little bit different or more than that, or we could build on it in the future, but that's basically it.
Thank you very much for sharing.
City Clerk Small, do you have an update?
Thank you, Mayor Leidy. No, I have nothing to report tonight.
Okay. City Manager Geyer.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I have nothing to report this evening. Thank you.
City Attorney Hoffman.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. I'll make it a trifecta. Nothing on my end either.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to share my screen and welcome Jason Loveland. And he has the second quarter financial update for us.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I do have an update, so I'll share that. So let's start with sales and use tax. You can see the chart here. The dark blue line is 2022. They're at the top. In total, these are through May's collections that we're reporting through June. Total sales and use tax is up 8.5%, or $11.2 million for the year. If you go to the next slide, here's a kind of a crazy graph of the indicator that was mentioned at the last meeting, desiring to take a look at marijuana tax. That revenue source does continue to be down. Now it's down about 15%. I think it's 14.6% exactly. That dotted line represents what's happened so far in 2022. If you take a look at 2021, from about July moving forward, the solid blue line, kind of just a downward trend since that point in time. You will see that in 2020, between April and May, there was a peak, and that kind of rode its wave for a while through 2020. And then we're back to where we are in the dotted green line. But that number continues to be down 15% as we've reported the last couple of months. Additionally, on the sales tax front, auto use sales tax is down 1.8% through the period. Food tax is relatively flat at down 0.8%. And then sales tax itself up 11%. And then we won't slide all the way through to the geographic area conversation on tonight's presentation. But overall, sales and use tax within the boundaries of North Glen is down, or not down, it's up 6.5% on the year. So positive traction there with inflation being kind of a lagging indicator. It's hard to tell if there is a lot of growth or if some of those revenue increases are inflationary. So we'll continue to monitor that as we move through the year. So in the general fund, as you can see here, spending and collection rate on the far right hand side of the page, we're 50% of the way through the year. These collection and spending rates are within the normal boundaries of what we would expect. Total revenue 14.6%, and that's up 6.8% year over year versus 2021. I did mention the last couple of months that there would be a timing issue with some of the reporting. So in May, we reported revenues in the general fund were up 21% year over year, and now that has fallen back to 6.5%, and that's due to the one-time, or what we'll consider one-time, since we're not developing new land constantly, Carl's Farm use taxes and sales taxes on that construction. So there'll be some ebbs and flows this year. I think that in June is the first representation of having a peak through May of being up 21%, and now we're seeing kind of the more realistic perspective of revenue growth within the city being up about 6.5%. On the expenditure side, all those numbers fall in line with budget estimates and where we should be through the year. Total expenditures are at $14.3 million. The other financing uses line, that $11.2 million, that is made up of claims and judgments for insurance purposes. That's about $90,000. And then $11.2 million is the transfer to the capital projects funds for previously requested support for different projects by council during this year. So if we go to the next slide, Conservation Trust Fund, you can see revenues just under $250,000 as consistent with the timing of those lottery proceeds that we collect, and then no spending through the midway point of the year in this fund. On the next slide, the Capital Projects Fund, revenues of $4.9 million. That's up about 6% year over year. Expenditures of $1.6 million. And then other financing sources and uses, that roughly $10.2 million number is made up of $11.2 million of a financing source from the general fund coming to it, and then the interest payments on the Justice Center and Recreation Center debt service that were made in June. So that nets out to be a positive for the fund, just not exactly equal to the 11.2 million transfer. If we go to the next fund, I believe the water fund.
I'm going to stop just because I see two hands and I don't want to back up, Jason. So Councilmember Brown.
Jason, my question may come up later at the end, but can you tell me where is the only place I'm going to see gas? Am I going to see it broken out? And am I only going to see it in expenditures? How much our cost of gas is increased for the city for all of our city vehicles and stuff, or do we not track that?
No, we do track that, and I can.
When you get there, just point it out to me, okay?
Yeah, we don't break it down that much detail in this report, but I have access to provide you an answer fairly quickly.
Well, I don't want to interrupt your flow, but I am curious. And then my next question, while you're looking for that, I'll ask City Manager Geyer. Can you remind me where we ended in the discussion of delivery on marijuana products?
I'll defer to my colleague Joanna Small and Corey Hoffman, since marijuana's Joanna oversees that licensing.
Okay, sorry about that.
Good evening, Councilmember Brown. The City Council actually approved an amendment to the city's marijuana code to allow marijuana delivery. It is allowed in the city. There is a special permit that the businesses that are performing the delivery services would need to obtain from our office.
Okay, I'm starting to wonder how much of our revenue is being seeped out, for delivery services. Just something I'm investigating on my own, I guess you could say. Thank you very much for refreshing my memory, Joanna.
Sure.
Councilmember Kondo, did you have the same question?
No, ma'am. I lowered my hand.
Okay. All right, Jason.
Okay. And to Councilmember Brown's question, motor vehicle fuel is up 25% through June. So I guess I could probably get that number through July as well. So.
Okay.
Then we will have to adjust that in our budget coming up this year?
Yes, that has been
addressed already.
planned and accounted for. So it's actually through July up 45% year over year. So that has been identified, and the budget for 2023 doesn't necessarily represent an increase of 45%. If you look at long range forecasts done, and I forget the source of that, it's showing about a 10% increase is the expectation on that. But yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure. So I think we're on the next fund, possibly, to the water fund.
There you go.
Okay. All right. Probably the highlight here is that consumption of water being up about 11%, 11.6% year over year, which is driving a bit of a revenue increase in this fund. But total revenues of $6.4 million and expenditures of 4.3. Everything else is in alignment with the budget. The capital outlay, there's major projects to be completed that are still going through the process at this point. So moving forward to the wastewater funds.
Now Councilmember Kondo has his hand back up.
Great. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just curious, the spend that's on purchase services, supply, and equipment, is that reflecting some of the emergent repairs that took place over at the Northland Marketplace? Is that why it's over 50%? I'm looking at rows 2 and 3 below expenditures.
Right, on the purchase services?
Yes.
I would have to, I'm not aware of the exact timing of those expenditures, but some of those can be variable and can be over 50%, to your point, depending on different situations and circumstances that arise. We can't predict exactly when those incidents may happen. So,
yep, I just wanted to understand, if those events contributed to, a cash burn rate that, exceeds what, 42% if you take 5 divided by 12, which is kind of what you're trying to do, right? To kind of keep track of whether you're, 5/12 the way through the year on the spend.
Yeah, so this should be this should be at 50% through June. So we should be at 50% or slightly less.
It should be 50%. Okay, yeah. Got it. I was looking at the previous slides where you had 5 months. So I was just trying to key in on about 43%.
Okay. And then in the wastewater funds, total revenues of just under $2.7 million compared to the prior year, realizing some increases in revenue from tap fees in the prior year. So we're kind of more in balance in 2022 at this point in time. Capital outlay, the big expenditure number of $4.9 million, and that's lift station A and force main that has been talked about over the last couple of years. Moving to the next fund, in the stormwater. Nothing out of the ordinary here. Revenue of $253,000, expenditures of $53,000. On track with spending. Those expenditures of $700,000 include capital projects for potential stormwater improvements throughout the city. And I think that those may be in the design phase at this point of the year. And then the last fund on the sanitation side, on the next slide, revenues of $850,000, expenditures of $980,000. Again, the spend and collection rate in alignment there. No changes in revenue year over year, and expenditures are in line with expectations. So I believe on the last slide, just kind of tie everything together to speak through sales and use tax. It says through May. So those are the sales that happened in May that we collected in June, up 11.2%. Total general fund revenue up 6.8%, as I touched on. Some declines in revenues year over year based off of the phasing of Carl's Farm. And then overall expenditures are within line, not only on operating side of things, but on the capital side. So that's the end of the presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions through the rest of the packet or just anything in general on the financials for this month.
Councilmember Brown? Oh, you're muted.
Dang. I simply forgot my question. I will text or I will email you, Jason. I lost it in a moment of blurbness.
Okay. I lost my mouse, so let's see where we are. Okay, moving into the consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Joanna, will you call the vote, please?
Mayor Leidy,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford,
Yes.
Councilmember Jaramillo,
Yes.
Councilmember Kondo,
Yes.
Councilmember Lukman Haramasa,
Yes.
Councilmember Goff,
Yes.
Councilmember Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Walker.
Yes.
Okay, the consent agenda passes unanimously.
Thank you. Okay, moving into resolutions. Our first one, CR 125. Joanna, will you read the title, please?
A resolution approving amendment number 2 to the agreement between the City of North Glen and Anderson Mason Dale Architects for architectural and engineering services for the implementation of Phase 2 of the Civic Center Master Plan Project.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second. Jinx.
All right. Our Director of Planning and Development, Brooke, is here to provide a summary of the item. Hi.
As you can see on the staff memo, it's Kent is the lead person on this, but however, I have taken a slightly more direct role with the transition of Mike Roman taking over for Nate Hasis. And so I'm bringing this forward to you tonight to kind of give you a brief overview of where we are on this council resolution tonight. So the first item here is that the audiovisual and security for the new City Hall is an item that we originally had in the scope of services with AMD and took it out and have now decided we want to put it back in. So this is not necessarily a net increase in the overall project budget as much as reassigning this task back to AMD. There was some internal discussions back and forth about the rec center and how we went through the rec center on the AV and PA system. And so what we wanted to do is we were looking at doing a different approach, and now we are at a point where it seemingly we've changed direction again and would like to have AMD take this over as the architect. We were initially intending to have a third party do this work. However, we've decided that it'd be more appropriate for the AV to be done. The second item as part of this contract amendment tonight is the demolition drawings for the old rec center. And so we knew we were going to have to do this, and we thought that we were going to have Martin & Martin, our engineer, prepare the demo plans. But as it turns out that between Martin & Martin AMD, the contract has been assigned, or the scope of responsibility for this contract service would be assigned to AMD with Martin & Martin as a sub. In brief, the two items collectively amount to $113,000 in contract amount. $91,250 is for the AV, and the $21,951 is for the demo of the rec center plans. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Councilmember Brown? I feel like you're looking for your mute button, so I should just call on you.
I was looking to raise my hand. Yay. Brooke, two questions. When this was previously budgeted or carved out for a consultant, right? So it's not an additional cost to the overall project, just to this particular portion of the project?
It's essentially it is not an increase to the scope of the architectural fees. It's just reassigning it back to AMD.
Okay.
And then the second item, the demolition drawings, we originally had a budget of around $400,000 for the demo of the building. We knew at some point we were going to have to put together demolition plans, and we've just now that's where we are in that process.
And how much that was? How much was that to demo again? Total?
$21,951 on basically roughly a $500,000 scope of service or scope of work for demo.
And if we were to approve this tonight, when would the demo start?
So as soon as this is approved and the contract is signed by the mayor, AMD and Martin will finalize the plans, which we understand will probably be less than 30 days. And then simultaneously, we are working with FCI, who will be putting together a contract proposal based on those plans. And we hope to have that brought back to council probably at the end of September or early October, and they will likely start work shortly thereafter.
Okay, so we're covered through August 31st when we had guaranteed it for the Denver mission.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Brooke, can you help me understand the sequence of events that are going to happen in terms of when we're not, okay, so we're getting rid of the old rec center. Is there a reason that we have to get rid of it right now? Or can we, like, why are we getting rid of it right now?
Sure. So the overall timing and sequencing is that the demo of the rec center will then precipitate the remediation of the north half of the property. And what we are trying to do is to create a seamless timeline of where the building gets demoed. We then can apply for our brownfields grant through the EPA, hopefully get that awarded here in the first quarter of next year and start remediation in third quarter of next year.
Okay.
They're all kind of interstitially tied together.
Yep. No, thanks for that reminder. That all completely makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I don't see any other hands. So I think we're ready. Joanna, will you call the vote, please?
Mayor Leidy?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford?
Yes.
Councilmember Jaramillo?
Yes.
Councilmember Kondo?
Yes.
Councilmember Lukman-Hiromasa?
Yes.
Councilmember Goff?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Walker?
Yes.
CR 125 passes unanimously.
Great. Moving on to CR 126. Joanna, will you read the title, please?
A resolution approving an agreement between the City of North Glen and Brannan Sand and Gravel Incorporated for the Community Center Drive Rehabilitation Project.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right. Ken Kisselman, our Director of Public Works, is here to provide a summary.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Thanks for having me. Yes, so there was a desire to do something with Community Center Drive, as we've all seen the condition of that road. So we put this out for bid, and we included the two parking lots at EB Rains. And then we also included the Leroy Drive, the industrial area. They did the industrial area on Leroy was done with as part of lift station A, but they didn't do the whole thing. They only did where they repaired. So it's, half streets, half width streets, and then they converted over to where they switched over on the other side. So this project will run from around the end of the brick from the south all the way to Malley. So it'll go all the way in front. And we decided once we looked at the bids, we received two bids. The cost to do a complete mill and overlay versus just an edge mill and overlay was virtually the same. So we're doing a full depth mill and overlay on Community Center Drive. And again, Brannan, who is doing our residential streets, also won this award. And the amount, including contingency, is $995,200 $279.92. And we recommend approval as presented. And I'll answer any questions you may have.
Councilmember Kondo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a question for you, Ken. So if we're going to rehabilitate the road, that yet, you know, we're going to have heavy trucks and things like that for the demolition of the old rec center and the construction of the new Civic Center. I'm just trying to understand the logic of that. I know the appearance and having a nice community center drive is important, but I just wonder, are we going to have to redo that again after all the heavy construction?
Yeah, we looked at the options, you know, and it is in just such disrepair. And it, I don't remember the score with the rating on the PCI. I can get that information, but we looked at the long term of the construction, and we're looking at, you know, many years out. And so it just isn't going to last. And our crew spends a tremendous amount of time and patchwork on that road. And so, you know, doing it now, you know, it's going to last, you know, I'm going to say anywhere from 7 to 10 years before we would need to do something. You know, a normal mill and overlay, you know, would last like 15 years. We're expecting like a half-life, but a good chunk of life out of this. And then again, when we would do it again, you know, it would just be you know, maybe an inch mill instead of, you know, an 1.5 inches or 2 inches, because we do have the newly asphalted area.
Councilmember Goff.
Yes, thank you. Hi, Kent. My question's pretty simple, and I don't think I saw it in there, but I did look at this all over the weekend. When would this start? When do you think you would start on Community Center Drive?
Yeah, right now Brandon is going guns a-blazing out there, so they're cranking it out. So yeah, it'll be you know, the asphalt plants typically shut down in November, you know, based on weather. So it'll be this year yet. So and we want to get those parking lots and EV rains done as well. So that'll just be one mob, and then they'll you know, once we get them under contract, you know, or approved, then we'll find out what the schedule is, and we can pass that information along in probably a city manager report.
Yeah, I just was thinking about the Pirate Festival coming up, and if that, you know, like wondering how you're going to make sure that everything is not in conflict there.
Yeah, we'll certainly work around that event. You know, if we can get it done before that, that'd be great. But it'd most likely be after Pirate Fest. I think that's September 17th or something, or mid-September, right?
Right, mid-September. Yes. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, I don't see any more hands. Joanna, will you call the vote, please?
Mayor Leidy?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford?
Yes.
Councilmember Jaramillo?
Yes.
Councilmember Kondo?
Yes.
Councilmember Lukman-Haramasa?
Yes.
Councilmember Goff?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Walker?
Yes.
CR 126 passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Okay, our next item is the service line warranty update. Diana Wilson is here to provide a summary of this item or present to us. I will pull up the presentation for you.
Thank you. Mayor, City Council, thanks for having me. As the Director of Communications, I inherited kind of an interesting oversight of service line warranties. I'm going to try and make this short. I know there's a lot of information in the packet because the company sent us a lot of information. And Chris actually is on the phone line if we have any questions of the company. But in a nutshell, in 2011, the city chose to have an agreement with this company. And really it addresses a very specific issue, which is people think that their sewer line and their water line on their personal property is covered by the city. And it is not. We have a city line, and the part that is on your personal property, your home's property, is your responsibility. So if any of you have ever had this issue, I know I have, and it's a bummer to pay $8,000, $10,000 to replace your water line or sewer line. So this is an issue. We have an older community, so infrastructure, just like in the city, people's homes infrastructure also need support. So the city in 2011 had an agreement with the Service Line Warranties of America, and that has been going pretty well. So we can probably go to the slide that talks about how many of our residents get this, which is slide, there it is, slide 11 of 110. There. One more, there you go. All right. Our feedback and communications on Service Line Warranties of America has been pretty positive. The only thing that's a little odd is sometimes people get confused, like they think somebody's using our logo and don't really have permission, which is a little ironic because I'm sure part of the thought of the city of North Glen partnering with Service Line Warranties was to help encourage people to know it's not a scam. So this is a private industry, private company that is allowed to use our logo on mailers seasonally to encourage homeowners, and there's only a certain percentage of residents that are eligible to use the program, but it's totally optional service if they wanted to pay a monthly fee. If they were ever to have any kind of issue with their water or sewer, they can make a claim. So for water, total cost $162,680. That's how much the company paid our residents who have this policy. Sewer, you can see, is significantly higher, over $1 million. They've paid out to help people repair their sewer lines in their homes. So relatively well used. And like I said, well, I believe I've actually heard from counselors as well, but on social media and other contact that I've had with the public, very positive reviews of the company, and incredibly thankful to have the service if they've invested in it. This is not the only company that offers this type of service. However, they have a relationship with National League of Cities, which is how I'm sure the city of North Glen ended up having a relationship with them as well. So that's the basis of the program. It's been going since 2011. A couple of things that happened that I wanted to make you aware of. The first is they were purchased by HomeServe. So their logo has changed a little bit. And when their logo changed, we actually got a few calls to the city saying, hey, who is this? Our front desk staff themselves were like, I don't think this is our company. So we did have to confirm that they were bought out by HomeServe, and they also still go by Service Line Warranties of America, and they have another line called Serve Line. So same company, same services. They did have to up their rates a little bit with inflation. And the other change is they offer some additional services. So I think you can go down a few more slides. Oh, you can see the customer satisfaction. They do a satisfaction survey and they had a pretty high rating. But the new customers are for interior plumbing and drainage and water heater. Interior plumbing can probably be pretty expensive. Water heater is not as expensive, but if you're on a tight budget, having coverage for this might be attractive to you. And they did approach the city and ask if they could offer these products. And upon Corey's advice, he said, I needed to come and ask you because we should redo the agreement if we're going to allow them to ask people if they're interested in additional services besides the ones that are listed in our agreement. So that's the gist of it. I thought I'd just leave it open for questions instead of going into a lot of detail. There's a ton of information in your packet if you're curious, but that's the gist of it.
Councilmember Goff?
Thank you. So Diana, again, as you said, pointed out, there's an awful lot there. I'm not sure if I just missed this, but if residents, I guess I'm wondering, I know you said that I think I read in somewhere that the price was going to go up like $1 a month or whatever, but that's for the first two original services. If a resident decides they want to add these two, is that an increase in their cost?
It is an increase in their monthly cost, and I actually will ask the representative to jump on real quick and answer that question. He's the 412 number, Joanna.
And thank you very much for allowing me to speak tonight. I will let you know, so based on those two new programs, it is very similar when we started with North Glen. There will be an acquisition price. So for the water heater, it's a price of $9.99 per month if there would be interest. Interior plumbing, I believe, is right around the same price as well, either $9.99 or $9.49. We would keep that price in place for those programs for at least the initial 12 months of the program. Generally, we don't see a lot of raises in the program. I believe when we raised the prices on the first two products with North Glen, it had been one of the first raises in the entire time that we've been with the program. So the goal is really to keep those acquisition prices the same. But like I said, we did see a slight increase in the first two programs last year.
Councilmember Brown?
Me?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I have a statement and a couple questions. Having paid $24,000 in California to replace my sewer line in my house out there, I think this is an excellent program. But I failed as a North Glen council person to sign up. So is there really just 2 periods that I can sign up for service, or any other residents can sign up? Or is it year round?
So that's an excellent question. And one of the things that I wanted to have under discussion, I was going to bring up at the end, in addition to the 2 new services that they're offering, I would like to have permission to put out a little bit more information on this service. Because it's a private company, it has been very limited, the information that we provide. They use our logo on direct mailers. That's it. There's no cost to the city, but we get questions. So I would like to have a section on our website on both the public works side and the utility side that kind of explains, hey, this is a private company. However, you should know these are not covered by the city. So you'll need to, if you want coverage, you'll need to purchase it privately. And here is an option, and provide this information. I believe you can sign up at any time. And that's just those seasonal is when they promote it to when you can buy it. Is that correct, Chris?
That is correct. And I was going to say, actually, Diana, that's one of the main points of the program is a resident in North Glen can sign up at any point via the website or the 800 number. The mailers are really just I would say, kind of reminders to the residents about the program, but you absolutely can sign up at any time for the program. And that's, like I said, we have a website that we provide. We also have an 800 number that we provide to the residents where they can sign up at any time.
And we do not have that information on our public website at this time because it wasn't included in the agreement. We didn't have council, council didn't have knowledge of that. So we wouldn't be able to do it unless you guys said it was okay, because it's a private industry and we don't do that for anybody else. But we do have an agreement with this company, and I think it's good information for our residents as long as we make it clear that it's totally optional. Other people offer the services. Here's one, trusted source that we have an agreement with. I think it would just be brief and clear and offer the information. And it would also help when people get the mailer to be like, what is this? It has a North Glen logo. What does it mean? Because if you see the North Glen logo and then go to our website and find nothing, you would be suspect, right? You'd be like, what's going on? We also could do some social media around the time that they do the mailers to kind of reinforce that, hey, this mailer is a legit service, totally optional. This is what it does. And that would help a little bit with the information as well.
I think it's really important. The houses were made in 1964, most of them, except for like Deanza Estates. And like I said, I paid $24,000. I owned the house for 2 weeks. And then I have seen maybe 6 houses over here on my side of Ward 2 having it done. And there may be people out there, just like myself, who thought that they could only enroll in November and whenever the other month is. So I am all for putting it on our webpage and offering the additional services. I do want to go back. I just kind of glimpsed, I read it and then I glimpsed it here again, and it reminded me. It's one of the slides that says up at the top, consistent revenue to the city. What does that mean?
You want me to take that or?
Yes, please. Thank you.
So one of the other things that we really try to do with the city is work with the city in regards to the plumbers and the contractors. So when we sign up or start working with a partnership with a city or municipality, what we try to do is keep as much business in the city as possible. So we ask for a contractor list, plumber list, specific contractors and plumbers within that area, so that any kind of business that's being done with these repairs is then going back to the contractors and plumbers within the area to keep the business within the city. The other part of it, and just to kind of let you know, there is also a revenue share part of a program that you cannot sign up for. North Glen decided to not do that and pass that on to the citizens for a bit more of a discount. But there is also an opportunity there for that program as well. It's called a royalty that, like I said, the city of North Glen actually passed it on to their residents instead of doing the royalty. So there are a few different ways we work with the city to give back to the program. Like I said, mainly it is the contractors and plumbers keeping that business within the city, but there is, like I said, the other revenue aspect of it as well.
That's awesome. And I'm glad that as a city, I remember when we did it, I'm glad that as a city, we did not allow a loyalty program with profit, with any money being paid over to the city. Very proud of our city. Thank you very much. That is the end of my questions.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Wolford?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have a quick question around how does Service Line vet the contractors that they are using?
The way that we get the contractors, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go.
The way that we get the contractors is, like I said, initially when we start working with a municipality, we reach out and we ask for a list of local contractors and plumbers that city or municipality is working with. We also do have a contracting network that then reaches out into the areas. We have a number of partners throughout the United States, including in Colorado. What it is from there, we are basically asking the contracting network to reach out to plumbers and contractors in the various municipalities that we work with to bring them aboard with the program. But I think I've spoken with Diana in the past. If there are ever additional contractors or plumbers that are maybe not working with us right now that would like to be included, we do vet and approve all of our contractors. There's drug screens, various information they need to pass. But if there is interest in additional contractors and plumbers who would like to join the program, we would absolutely be happy to take those people on once they've been vetted and approved.
Okay, that's good to know. There's also a local plumbers union in Colorado, local Union 3 that I know would have a lot of really awesome contractors potentially. And then the only other thing I wanted to add to the conversation is just a thanks, Diana, for bringing this forward. I can't tell you how many phone calls I get every year when these mailers go out where people are like, well, who is this company? And did Northglenn endorse them? Is Northglenn getting a kickback? And should I do this? And it's so tremendously helpful to have this information at my fingertips and actually be educated about what this program can provide for folks. So I am in full support, Diana, of, the city pushing out information and making it really clear that we don't cover those line breaks that are on the private property, because unfortunately folks just don't know that. So I think any opportunity we have to provide education is just really important. And I'm open to expanding the services offered here, just because I know from personal experience that replacing a water heater or having to redo plumbing is so expensive. When we bought our home, we had to redo all of our plumbing because we had, a lot of those, thick lead pipes, and it was time, and we had a line break, and I can't imagine what we would have done without family members who were plumbers and able to address those issues for us, because it's expensive. So I definitely support this, and am just, again, really thankful for the education.
Thank you. Awesome. Well, I think that's all we have for you tonight.
Okay, so just to be clear, you're fine with them offering the 2 additional services, and you're fine with me doing some additional information on our website and social media when the mailers go out. Everybody's good? All right, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right,
Mayor and Council, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Oh yeah, thank you for being here. Next item is the waste optimization study. And our next steps, Brooke is back. Hello.
I know, so exciting to have me back on the screen talking again. Okay, I just want to make sure my microphone's working. It tends to fade in and out.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, so I'll try to keep this short and brief. The idea behind the staff memo is to do a reboot with council, because of the amount of time that's transpired and the number of new council members, is to have the consultant along with staff engage council on one-on-one interviews to sort of give a primer and an overview of what this effort and undertaking is, and then have an opportunity to then collate and put all that information together to make sure that what we be presenting to you in its final form is consistent and aligns with the objectives of the City Council. And so that's really what we're here to ask about. If Council is interested in moving forward with this approach, we would be bringing something back on August 22nd to Council for a contract amendment for the scope of services. So with that, I'll open up to any questions.
Any questions or comments, discussion from Council? Okay, thank you. That was an easy one.
So the consensus then is to move forward with bringing forward an amendment for one-on-one interviews on this. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And that has to be the fastest discussion item I think I've had.
I think so too.
Hey, Brooke, this is Councilmember Brown.
Oh.
I just wanted to let you know that I miss your spreadsheets and your PowerPoint presentations. I miss them all.
Just wait for the housing stuff and the comp plan. It's coming.
I know.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, our third discussion item is the firearm regulations within city parks and buildings. Chief May is here to present this item. Hello.
Mayor, Council, good evening. Actually, I have it tonight. So for me, actually, there's two memos in your packet. One will be presented by Deputy Chief Randall Darlin in regards to our ordinances or potential ordinances or processes for firearms in our city buildings and parks. And then Corey's going to discuss some what surrounding agencies and counties are doing, and also with current Supreme Court rulings. So, and then I'll stay around of some of the history I have in regards to our council years ago was in the forefront of safe gun storage, and I can give you an update on that program as well. So Randall, take it away.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. So I just want to give you an overview of potential regulations and restrictions of carrying concealed firearms within city parks and buildings. In 2021, state legislators passed Bill 21256, amending Colorado law to allow local government to the ability to regulate firearms. Local government can prohibit the sale, purchase, transfer, possession of a firearm ammunition, or firearm components under that state statute. Currently, CRS provides the ability to carry a firearm in a motor vehicle, and HR 218 provides law enforcement and retired law enforcement nationwide concealed carry. But in Colorado, concealed carry under 18-12-203 provides that an individual can obtain a permit to conceal carry through their local sheriff in the county in which they live. The process for that is pretty straightforward. You need to be a legal resident of Colorado. You need to be at least 21 years of age or older. You have to not be ineligible to possess a firearm pursuant to 18-12-108 or any other federal law. You can't be a chronically or habitually used of alcoholic beverages to the point of impairment. You cannot have addicted to controlled substances, the subject to protection order. And if you meet those requirements under Colorado law, the sheriff shall issue a concealed to carry permit for an individual that meets all the criteria under the statute. Currently, North Glen only imposes one additional restriction on open carrying of firearms in public places. It's unlawful under 4-7-1 for any person to openly carry any firearm in any public place where there's a posted sign indicating that open carrying of firearms is prohibited. This is the only additional local restriction that North Glen provides over state statutes. North Glen has the ability to do further restrictions as long as those restrictions are not more restrictive than state statutes. So we can regulate concealed carry, we can regulate open carry within the state statute as long as we're not more restrictive. However, there are some concerns over any type of ordinance passed within North Glen based on recent Supreme Court decisions out of New York. With addition to this, currently our current statute provides that the city manager can recommend the locations, what properties, what public properties are allowed to be restricted carry. In this process, we'd like to discuss kind of moving that authority over to council, as it really truly is a policy decision, and it's something that maybe council wants to take a look at and decide on what additional restrictions we want, how do we want to identify those public places. A lot of those public places for concern are public buildings, right? Our city hall buildings, other public buildings throughout North Glen, city-controlled buildings. And then the new or most recent Supreme Court decision really impacts even those buildings based on a criteria that I'll let really Corey go into on that. But what we wanted to bring forward was kind of where we are, what current regulations North Glen has, as well as kind of that discussion to take that responsibility or that authority more so to identify those public spaces and move that to city council by amending the ordinance, or do we want to leave that in the hands of the city manager? And with that, I'll turn over to Corey to kind of talk about the most recent Supreme Court decision out of New York and what potential regulations North Glen could push forward.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, again, City Council. Right now, this is a really tough area that is in flux in Colorado. What the Deputy Chief just went through was all under state law. And of course, even if our regulations are lawful under state law, they can't violate the United States Constitution. And so on June 23rd, a little over a month ago, the United States Supreme Court rendered a decision that is by far one of the most comprehensive decisions on firearm regulations and very much restricts the ability of local governments across the country, as well as state governments, to impose restrictions on firearms. We talked very briefly about this about, I don't know, a month, 6 weeks ago, when the Boulder County communities all adopted very comprehensive regulations at roughly the same time. Well, the day before the town of Superior's ordinance was to go into effect, which was the first of the Boulder County communities ordinances to go into effect, it was sued in federal district court based on this new United States Supreme Court case. And essentially, the judge in that case issued what's called a temporary restraining order, prohibiting that ordinance from going into effect until there's a hearing sometime. I believe it's now been scheduled in November. So in a very broad sense, any new firearm regulations are subject to more scrutiny. Specific to parks and public places, in the memorandum that I provided to council, there is a what's called a block quote from the United States Supreme Court decision that talks about places that historically firearm regulations have been acceptable. It's what's known as sensitive places in the historical context. And it refers to legislative assemblies, polling places, and courthouses. Those are the examples that were given by the United States Supreme Court. And it's important that they are talking about historical sensitive places in the 18th and 19th century, not, and the history, frankly, that it appears they are referring to is the history on the East Coast, because that is where most of the population was at that time in our history, and therefore where a lot of the United States Supreme Court cases and jurisprudence came from. What does that mean? It means that we are pretty comfortable if the city council determined it appropriate to prohibit firearms, open carry, concealed carry, or both, in buildings, municipal buildings, that it is probably akin to legislative assemblies. That's could be this where the city council is. Much more of a close call, much more of an open question now is parks. And I can tell you that the various municipal attorneys in our area are still trying to figure out whether that is something that we can do, whether we collectively want to take a chance on if a council in a particular community wants to attempt to regulate firearms in public parks, because it is an open question when first where we do the research to determine if it is a historically sensitive place within the meaning of the United States Supreme Court decision, and then depending on that research, if in fact it rises to that level. But you are certainly not alone in terms of being interested in addressing that question. In speaking with other municipal attorneys in the metro area, it is absolutely something that many are concerned about, specifically related to parks. And we all have concerns as to whether we could regulate the carrying of firearms in parks. So I'm going to stop there, and I'm happy to answer any questions. I know the chief wants to talk about safe storage as well. But if nothing else, I wanted to identify that this is, as of June 23rd of this year, a much more difficult area for the city to regulate.
I have quite a few hands up, so I'm going to start with Councilmember Goff.
Thank you, Mayor. So my question is, I guess for me to understand kind of where we are and where we might go better than I do right now, I would like to know where in the city we already have posted signs that you can't bring guns. And, you know, if we've ever had, I don't know, questions about that or difficulties with it or challenges to it, or had to arrest somebody because they violated that. I mean, I'm assuming that we already have some signs in some places, but I don't really know where that would be. I'm trying to remember if I've ever noticed any. I think I have, but so I just wondered, is there a quick way to get an answer to that question?
The most prominent place is E.B. Raines Park.
So we do have signs there. We have signs there. Okay, and so I know when, I think it was the food truck carnival, I actually saw someone openly carrying a firearm. I'm not sure what happened as a result of that, and I don't know, is this an issue? I mean, what is, this is very confusing. I don't really know what I'm trying to ask. How much trouble is it going to be? I mean, if we've already had some of these signs posted and we've been doing this all along, is that a problem? Or is it just if we try to add new places?
No, so the ordinance that authorizes the signage was adopted in 2003. Mm-hmm. I would suggest that the ordinance as applied to E.B. Raines Park right now is at issue. There is a potential that it would not withstand constitutional scrutiny under the recent case. There has been additional legislation related to public buildings where pre-2021, there was state law that said you could prohibit weapons in public buildings so long as you had a metal detector at the entrance and posted signage. Post 2021, as the deputy chief mentioned, post Senate Bill 21-256, you could prohibit without the metal detector. And again, as it relates to those interior spaces, interior municipal buildings, I think there's a pretty good argument that that is one of those sensitive places. But the law has evolved several times since the ordinance was adopted by the city in 2003. And as it relates to E.B. Raines Park, To my knowledge, it has not been challenged, but I would be concerned if it was post June 23rd, 2022. Because even under the case, I am confident that there is no historical record that the city relied on for that regulation.
So you have to wait until somebody kills somebody, and then you can say, here's our history. We are going to change the law now.
It's 18th and 19th century. So no, it's based on what was a historically sensitive place at that point in time.
So do you think Western states are going to try to rally some kind of complaint or reinterpretation or insistence that we not be included in this, or?
You can't exclude yourself. That's not the way it works. Theoretically, the legislature, the Senate and House of Representatives at the federal level could adopt a law, but unless and until they do, the Supreme Court decision is the law of the land.
That's disappointing. I mean, I have to say, if I thought that everybody was carrying guns to every event we have in the city, I wouldn't go to any of them. So I don't know. This I'm not sure what we're going to do. I don't think it should be dumped on Heather. I think that if we are going to make any changes, that would have to be, or maybe we need to make a change to, to word it so that it's up to council to make those decisions.
And in a very general sense, I guess I would say this, because I do have a recommendation, because this United States Supreme Court decision is so recent, because we have a hearing on Superior's ordinance in November of this year in front of the federal district court, is certainly if the council is inclined to look at legislating in municipal public buildings based on the Legislative Assembly's language in the Supreme Court decision, that is certainly something that I think we could defend. But on all other firearm regulations, frankly, at this moment in time, I would wait and see how this particular case in Colorado, which is going to follow the Supreme Court decision, turns out. And there's going to be quite a few other cases that wind their way through the court system based on Bruin. And I would not recommend the city council aggressively legislate on firearms unless it wants to be at the forefront of that litigation.
And to set your mind at ease a little bit, council member, it's not something that we have a lot of enforcement on. We do not find people open carrying firearms often in the park. We are not seeing lots of calls for service on concealed carry people are subjects in the parks and in our public spaces. So just to kind of set your mind at ease in that regard, it is not something that we have seen as a problem with calls for service or enforcement action.
Up until this point, but yes, I get it. Thank you. Thank you.
I have quite a few more hands. Councilmember Brown.
First of all, I was totally excited to see this on the agenda, but now I'm not so much excited. Even after reading everything, I realized that, I had wanted something a little stronger, and we obviously can't do that. But Chief or Deputy Chief, do pawn shops sell guns? I'm just curious. They do.
They often do. Not all do, but they often do, yes.
Okay, just keep that in the back of your mind after every lawsuit is settled. But I agree with Councilmember Goff that I'm incredibly disappointed that our country doesn't have the balls to stand up and fight for the rights of the other Americans. I own guns. I shoot responsibly. I have a concealed carry. I don't see what the big deal is. And I'm just very, very disappointed. I'm just ranting for a minute that America is so jacked up right now that we're going to let these people kill our children and attack other people. I'm so disappointed by this. Uh-oh, Nick's raising his screen. I'm very disappointed with it. I was hoping we could do something like Superior and make it so that the pawn shops can't sell guns, things like that. But obviously we have to wait. So that's the end of my rant.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Wolford.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I am trying to collect my thoughts around how do we move forward. And in the memo, what I saw was a question around if Heather should be the decider of what these policies are or whether that burden should fall to City Council. And I think that the burden should fall to City Council to make that policy. And, you know, knowing that our hands are very much tied around being able to legislate in public places like parks, what I'm hearing, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that we can still make policy about our own governmental buildings. So with that said, you know, as we think about what a safe city hall looks like and a safe environment for our employees and for us as council members, I wonder if council is interested in exploring what a policy could look like that would prohibit concealed carry or open carry in City Hall, as well as our other municipal buildings. So I'm just opening that question up. That's where I am and would be interested in other people's perspectives.
Councilmember Goff.
I guess I would say that, you know, Corey's recommendation to wait until we see what's happening in some of these other cases is one that I would follow. But then, yes, I think we should revisit this. Yeah, I mean, to me, even something like the rec center, I know that's probably not going to be considered a sensitive place under this new reading, but I think that's a shame. So that's what I have to say about that. Yeah, I think we should come back and revisit this. And I do think that the council, city council as a group should be responsible for changing anything.
Can you say that again for me? I think I misheard you. You do or you don't?
I think city council should be the one responsible for making changes, not the city manager.
Got it. I agree with you. I just wanted to make sure I heard you right. Corey, what do you got?
Yeah, and just to clarify, if there was an area that I thought it was acceptable to legislate now, it would be on municipal buildings. That is the area because, again, using this language from the case that talks about legislative assemblies, polling places, and courthouses, and being aware of no disputes regarding the lawfulness of such prohibitions, you know, I do think there is some basis for the municipal buildings now. It's the other quote unquote sensitive places that I think, you know, such as parks, that I would wait and see.
How quickly, if we were to do something for our municipal buildings, how quickly could that happen?
First meeting in September. We want to get some historical backup, frankly, and that's what, but I think we could get something by then.
Do any of your council members want to weigh in? No? Councilmember Lukman Hiramosa.
Sure, I'll weigh in. I think I agree strongly with Corey that we need to see what is going to come out of these, you know, recent lawsuit and the temporary restraining order in Superior in terms of, you know, enacting more regulation. I do agree that it's something that should probably be in the hands of City Council versus the city manager in terms of enacting any further legislation. And then just to clarify, right now in EB reigns, it's only openly carrying firearms, right? Not concealed permit Okay, and that's something, my understanding is that should we be taking a look at that per Corey as this potential for that to be open to lawsuits? Is that what I heard?
I think that's a correct assessment.
That is correct.
That would be open for challenge.
Yeah, and one of the nuances, and again, I don't want to get into the weeds on this, but not every state in the country allows open carry at all. So Colorado is unique. If you read the New York Supreme Court or the United States Supreme Court decision, it doesn't distinguish between open carry and concealed carry because New York doesn't allow open carry.
Okay, but there is potential to differentiate in any ordinance or legislation between open carry and concealed carry.
In this state, yes, but we still have to be careful about the constitutional prohibition. And I'm concerned that the constitutional prohibition would capture both as it relates to parks.
Those were the only questions I had. Thank you.
Councilmember Jaramillo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is definitely the most slippery slope issue we've had to deal with. With that said, I mean, gun violence even around Webster Lake has gone up in the apartments just surrounding it. And I don't know if this measure would, which direction it would tilt that violence. So, I mean, it's definitely on my radar how much has been going on around Webster Lake and also throughout North Glen and surrounding areas. But I think it should be city council making these decisions. But I don't know if we might just wait out and see what's gonna happen with municipalities that are doing this elsewhere. And I mean, as long as it's you can have concealed carry, I think that's fine. But open carry, I think, is a whole other story. But I know it's like I said, this is the most slippery slope of a topic that we've dealt with. I feel like since I've been on board on city council, but I don't know if I answered each question that we were supposed to about having council pass it instead of the city manager. Was there anything else that I might be missing?
Well, I think that was the main question that Corey wanted for tonight, but I think Mayor Pro Tem opened the conversation about making policy quickly around government buildings.
Okay. Yeah, government buildings, I can see that as well. I mean, if you go to other governmental buildings, we've seen that our neighboring cities, our capital, they do that. They have the same practice that we'd be following.
And just, I guess, to clarify, under the current ordinance that gives the city manager the authority, that would be the interim authority, if you will, for places like City Hall until the ordinance was adopted, in which City Council made the determination that firearms were prohibited there. So, to the extent that council wants to install, let's say, metal detectors at some point in public buildings before the ordinance is final, it has the current authority to do so under the current ordinance that authorizes the city manager to post those signs. Even though they are at E.B. Raines Park today, they could be done, for example, at City Hall until there was a new ordinance.
Okay. Thank you for that, Corey.
Now that would, Corey, and I just want to clarify, that would only apply to open carry though. That wouldn't apply to concealed carry under the current ordinance.
Correct.
So that authority isn't in the current ordinance to restrict concealed carry in public buildings or spaces currently. We would need a new ordinance for that.
Correct. And the council can adopt that ordinance as an emergency, meaning it is effective immediately.
And Corey, would I be correct in making the assessment that we're on really pretty solid ground in City Hall, the City Hall building, because of the legislative process occurs in that building, but we would be lesser, we would have a lesser defendable position in other buildings like the rec center, like M&O, other municipal buildings that don't actually really clearly fall into what the Supreme Court has defined as what's the term, Corey? A special location.
Sensitive place. No, that's why I indicated
sensitive place. So
that's why I indicated we would have to do the historical research. It's not legal research, which is what we normally do. It is historical research about what regulations were in place in the 18th and 19th century in those types of places.
Councilmember Kondo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My response is that I believe we should elevate the authorities for making policy decisions to the City Council. I am also in agreement, at least for the City Hall, if the Council so decides to want to pursue policy that restricts open carry into that facility. I think that it is well within legal confines, if you will, or scope that would allow us to do that, but not expose us to litigation risk.
Thank you. Councilmember Brown.
Mr. Hoffman, I am officially confused. In the city buildings, right, like say in City Hall, can we restrict concealed weapons too? Or can we can only restrict open carry? Because
we are authorized to, but to my knowledge, there is not a current ordinance that allows it.
And if we left this responsibility with the city manager, we could get it done faster in order to prohibit concealed weapon carry and open carry.
Let me, I'm going to check that because I was not, the city may prohibit under its current ordinance, under a totally different section, under 9-6-5, we can restrict a person from carrying a concealed handgun into a public building where security personnel and electronic weapon screening devices are permanently in place at each entrance to the building. And I apologize, I was just looking at new firearms regulations as my part of this presentation, not what's currently in effect. But there is a language in our current ordinance that allows for regulating concealed carry so long as there are security personnel and electronic weapon screening devices at each entrance to the building, and that each person is screened. And so you can't differentiate between individuals that you screen.
So can I ask just one more question and then I'll shut up? In regards to City Hall, let's just use that as an example. Do we have two entrances? If we were to decide to do something, anything, would we have to do it at on the top floor and the bottom floor? Are those two entrances?
If both floors were open, yes. But for example, at a city council meeting, it would only have to, if the upper floor were closed, then it would only have to be at the entrance that was open.
Okay, and because that other door outside chambers is not a public entrance, we wouldn't have to do anything there if we decided to?
Correct.
Thank you very much for clarifying that.
Councilmember Kondo.
I think my hand is
maybe still up from before. Okay, my apologies. I'll take it down.
No worries.
So I want to give Councilmember Walker an opportunity. If you have anything you want to add, you're the only one who hasn't joined this discussion yet.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. At this time, the only thing I'm going to add is that it should be elevated from the city manager to city council.
Okay. So I'm in agreement with that. However, I think I'm kind of where Becky is in that if we want to do something sooner, I guess I'm so confused on that part, Corey. Remind me again why we would leave it, why there's a benefit to leaving it with the city manager for a period of time.
The city, just so that the authority for open carry is there until the city council acts.
Okay, and so we can act in the same meeting.
Yes.
Got it. So we can give the authority to our, or like take it from Heather, elevate it to council, and then act in the same evening.
If we needed to, yes.
Okay, I think that was my piece. I see Councilmember Goff.
Yeah, so I know, I mean, this is so complicated. I don't know why it has to be this way, but so if we left it with Heather and, you know, we're planning on changing that part of the ordinances or whatever it is to have it be, you know, policy for city council to make the decision to make any changes. But we could tonight ask Heather to go ahead and decide that city council or city hall or city council chambers, however we're wording it, is a sensitive place. And then we can maybe get going on any kind of security we want to do before city council meets and decides to change it. Is that what I'm hearing?
Again, as it relates to open carry, yes. As it relates to concealed carry, you already have that authority because you already have an ordinance in place that allows, with a metal detector and security, to prohibit.
Mm-hmm. I guess I'm just trying to figure out what we need to decide tonight. It sounds like there's agreement that we need to take that responsibility out of the hands of the city manager, give it to city council. But then I was also hearing what I thought was some discussion about trying to expedite, a decision.
I guess what I'm suggesting is that you don't want, what I'm hearing is no one wants to move backwards.
Mm-hmm.
And if you were to say to the city manager today, stop, you'd be moving backwards.
Okay. So Heather, don't stop.
Okay. So who can paraphrase what we're doing and when?
I will be bringing an ordinance back.
Okay.
I'm going to shoot for this first meeting in September that would prohibit open and conceal carry in public buildings, specifically those public buildings that we can find a historical basis for doing so. So that is what will come back to you. I am confident that includes the city hall as the place where the legislative policy making occurs. And we're going to see what additional areas we can include within that. And then the remainder, and that will apply equally to open and concealed carry.
Okay. Councilmember Kondo.
Yes, ma'am. Question for Corey, and that is, so when we do the grub and gov sort of events where obviously we're reaching out to the public and it creates an opportunity where we're exposed, is there potential for us to temporarily, just for that event, establish policy regarding handguns or ornaments?
I think it would be subject to an uphill battle if the city were challenged.
Okay. That's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any final comments or thoughts?
You have them on the tablet too.
No. Well, we have come to the end of this discussion item. Corey, do you have everything you need?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Deputy Chief. We appreciate it. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Good night.
Okay, moving into public invited to be heard. This is an opportunity for public comment. Statements are limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Comments must be related to an item previously addressed by the council during the meeting. If there is anyone on the phone who would like to speak to council at this time, you may press *6 to unmute. I don't hear anyone, so I think our meeting has come to an end. Since we have no further business, we are adjourned.